And so if you're in a family business and you're starting to move into your own space, and you've got to just remember that you've got to determine what are your abilities and skills and talents and experiences that you can bring to the table that nobody else has.
Welcome to the Pivotal Leader Podcast with Gina Trimarco, featuring lively interviews with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who share their stories and best practices for shifting business from problems to profits. Sit back and get ready to pivot.
Hey everyone, this is Gina Trimarco, Chief Results Officer of Pivot 10 Results, a strategy and training company that helps businesses shift from people problems to performance results. Each week on The Pivotal Leader, I feature inspirational leaders who know how to positively impact their customers, employees, and brands through culture building. This is a super special episode with Tom Ziglar, son of Zig Ziglar and CEO of Ziglar Inc. And even more special, well, I don't know, maybe same special. I don't want Tom to feel not special. Equally special, Rachel Pitts is joining me today. Rachel and I are co-hosts on Women Your Mother Warned You About, the podcast that makes sales sexy again. And we did a 2-part interview with Tom. We did one on Women Your Mother Warned You About, and we're continuing it here. I think this is a little bit of my smart marketing, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of making people bounce from podcast to podcast to finish listening to Tom. So we focused on sales on Women Your Mother Warned You About. So if you haven't heard that one, pop over to womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com. And now this show, we're going to talk about leadership. I know that was a pretty big opening. So thank you, Rachel and Tom, for your patience through that. And welcome to the Pivotal Leader to both of you.
Yay, I'm excited.
Awesome. Rachel, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, because the Pivotal Leader listeners might not know who you are.
I am a realtor, I am a mom, and I am the creator of The Closing Curve. You can find me at theclosingcurve.com and all over social media as Rachel on Real Estate. And my cheeks hurt so much from just smiling of enjoying Tom and all his knowledge. It's great.
Awesome. Well, we're about to get more knowledge from Tom, more about Tom. He joined the Zig Ziglar Corporation in 1987. I think he was like 5. And he climbed from working in the warehouse to sales to management and then on to leadership. Today, he speaks around the world, hosts The Ziglar Show, one of the top-ranked business podcasts, which I think he should have you and I on. I mean, that's my ask. No pressure, Tom. But you got to ask for things. And he carries on the Ziglar philosophy. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people to get what they want. He's also the author of a new book, Choose to Win, which we'll talk about today. Welcome, Tom.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Awesome. So on this show, as I've mentioned earlier, we focus on pivotal leadership. And one of the first things that comes to mind was to ask you, how did you transition in essence, a family business to the helm when the founder continues to be an icon? And I think this is an important question because so many of our businesses in this country are small businesses and family-owned businesses, and you see these transitions go on all the time where it passes on and the legacy continues to someone in the family. So that's a really good, meaty question for us to get started with.
Yes, it is. I've been the CEO for 25 years. Dad never did the day-to-day, but the whole business was personality-driven. I mean, it was his millions of books sold, his speaking engagements, and of course, you can't think of a better icon to have. Who wouldn't want Zig Ziglar as the business? And Dad said something that I didn't understand. He passed away 6 years ago, and probably 15, 20 years ago, he said, you will never know true freedom until I'm gone. That's kind of an interesting thing, and we didn't understand it. Well, what he was really saying is that each of us, God has given each of us our own unique gifts and talents. None of us can fill the shoes of the founder, our parents, anybody else, right? Because we're our own set, right? We're our own unique combination of experience, gifts, talents, skills. And when you have a personality business or a family business, whoever created it, they had a mindset, they had a view, they have their own talents, and they grew it around that. And if you try to go in and copy it, it's not going to work. right? Because it's not transparent, it's not authentic. You're trying to be somebody you're not. And so when Dad passed away and we looked around, that quote came back, you'll never know true freedom until I'm gone. And what I was really realizing is he was like, look, don't try to be me. Analyze your greatest gifts and talents and grow it off of that. And so that really created this thing. And then, when I first started speaking, I was so nervous. I was so intimidated. I was so worried. I enjoyed the actual speaking part, but I had all this anxiety. And then I realized that what I was putting on myself, Dad never did. What I was putting on myself is I thought people wanted me to be like Zig Ziglar. What they want is for me to represent the philosophy, the principles, and the values. But what they really want is for me to be the best version of myself. And so one of my friends, he says, Tom, you're an intellectual engineer. So I got the big head. I looked it up on Google. An intellectual engineer, there's an acronym for it. It's NERD. I'm a nerd, right? And so when I speak, I'm gonna connect in different ways that Dad couldn't, but I can never be him. And so if you're in a family business and you're starting to move into your own space, and you've got to just remember that you've got to determine what are your abilities and skills and talents and experiences that you can bring to the table that nobody else has.
And make a name for yourself.
That's right. And leadership, one of the things I learned is that the greatest leaders of all, they come from all different backgrounds. They have all different personality styles. But one of the things that they are excellent at is they know what their blind spots are. They know what their weaknesses are. And then they bring in people smarter, more capable than they are in those areas to do that. And they let them do their job. So it's not about knowing everything and having control of everything. It's about surrounding yourself with people who are the best at that specific area.
Great advice. And for anybody in a business that's a family-owned business, as you're scaling it and getting into your own, you got to just be confident enough to be in your own. When I started Carolina Improv Company 11 years ago, as an improv comedy theater in school, I was the only teacher. And the only way to scale it was to have other teachers. And that was a tough transition at first because people were like, no, we want to take classes with you. Like, well, you had like 4 years to do that. And and now you're going to meet other teachers that are going to turn out to be more fabulous than me, and creating a culture where we have a diverse group of teachers that are all different. And what's been interesting about scaling that is we have people repeat classes because they want to try a different teacher. And so you have to let other people fly in the organization so it's not all about that one person.
Absolutely.
Legacy, the word legacy brings up so many different images and connotations. How do you define legacy or a legacy business?
Let me kind of give you some definitions for context. The first one is success. How do you define success? Success is having more of the good things of life. Success is the maximum utilization of the abilities that God gave you. At the end of the day, success is about what I accomplish. It's the result that I get, right? It's the thing that I'm driving towards, and success is really good. Significance is a little bit higher up. Significance is when you help someone else be, do, or have more than they thought possible. So with success comes happiness. It's based on circumstance. With significance comes joy, because the circumstances don't matter. If you pour into somebody that you care about who's going through a tough time, and then they come back to you a month later and they say, hey, you know what you told me? I did it. It worked. It changed my life. It healed my relationship. It helped me make the decision. Look where I am now. The joy that you get is unbelievable. And you could be in physical pain. You could be going through your own trial, but significance it's not bound by circumstance. Legacy is one tier up from that. Legacy is when you teach and transfer the wisdom, the knowledge, the character, the integrity, the habits to someone else so that they can make good decisions that will ripple through eternity. So legacy isn't just helping someone up, it's teaching them how to make good decisions. There's a writer named Mark Batterson, and he said it this way. He said, an inheritance is what you leave to someone. A legacy is what you leave in someone. Yeah, so that's deep. And so I love when I ask people, how many of you want to leave a legacy? 100%, everywhere. It doesn't matter where in the world we are. Well, great. I've got good news for you. You are going to leave a legacy. Everybody does. The question is it by design or by chance? Is it intentional? And so we teach in the book intentional ways of how you can create a legacy that will ripple through eternity.
And have you found that overall, when people are out chasing success and they're chasing the things, that is where they run into disappointment and unhappiness rather than really trying to define what they hope to be their legacy?
Sure. Well, first off, they're usually either just chasing something without any thought, or they have the wrong definition of success. I mean, if you go into our culture and you look at the people who get their 5 minutes of fame and pop icons and celebrities and athletes and people who hit it big in tech, they're successful. Yeah, but they're on antidepressants and they have no relationships and they can't sleep at night and, they have no, inner self-worth because their whole value in life is what they do and what they have. We teach this philosophy that you've got to be before you can do and you got to do before you can have. You got to be the right person first. So people end up chasing the wrong definition of success. And there's a lot of successful people out there that I would not trade places with.
Amen, my brother.
Or who put on a facade of success.
Yes.
And again, for our listeners, the book is Choose to Win by Tom Ziglar, and we'll have information in our show notes about how you can get that book. Or Tom, you can feel free to plug it right here. What's the best way to get the book?
The best way to get the book is just go to choosetowinbook.com, and that'll take you everywhere. It'll take you to our site where we'll autograph it for you. You can go to Audible. You can go to Kindle. You can go to Amazon. You can go to all these different places, Barnes & Noble. All those links are on that page. So wherever you want it.
And we'll put that in the show notes. And while we're plugging things, Spontaneous Selling 1.0, the video series, is coming out, or maybe by the time you hear this, is already out. That's my way of forcing
Finally.
it. So we take improv and we infuse it in sales to make people human again. And you can learn more about that at pivot10results.com. So Tom, you write about the basics of physical health, sleep, diet, and exercise. What's your game plan for making good choices in those areas? And how could leaders leverage that to become better leaders?
Yeah. So here's the reality. If our physical health isn't solid, we're not going to have creativity, stamina. Our moods are going to swing. In other words, it's like carrying around a 25-pound weight on our back all day long when our physical health is just dragging. So in the book, some of the research that I did that kind of surprised me, there's like 4 keys to physical health. There's hydration, there's nutrition, there's movement, and then there's sleep. And what I discovered was sleep is the most important of all of them. It's the lever that changes everything. Yeah. And most people think, I get 5 or 6 hours of sleep and I do fine. All the sleep studies will prove you wrong.
Yeah.
You need at least 7. Most people do better with 8 or 9. You get a world-class athlete like LeBron James. I think I read where he sleeps 12 to 13 hours a day.
Wow. But I can attest to the fact that I did for a while a pretty good stint of sleeping like 5 hours a night, and I thought I was killing it. But the truth of the matter is, when I stopped that, my body was like, ugh, and it's not good. You can look at people's, and I think it was Chalene Johnson did a podcast and talked about when they studied her brain, they thought that she was on drugs, or like heavy drugs, or had a brain injury or something because she'd been sleep deprived. And what showed up on a brain scan was it just looked terrible, and she just was sleep deprived.
That's right. And so what happens when you get enough sleep is, the book is about replacing a bad habit with a good habit. It's about the choices that you make. When you get enough sleep, the quality of your choices go way up. You're able to pick nutrition that's good for you long term and not just that quick sugar burst of energy that people usually crave when they're down, and the likelihood of you actually intentionally getting a workout in or movement in or however you want to position it goes way up. Because what do we sacrifice when we don't sleep? The workout and the right food choices.
Oh, amen. I have a confession to make. I mean, it's not really a confession, but this morning Rachel and I went to the gym together. We have two different ways of working out, but I was happy that I had someone to go with because it forced me to show up. I knew there was a moment this morning when I didn't want to get out of bed. I'm like, I'll just text her and tell her I'll see her later.
And then you saw that I'd already been on since 5 a.m. plugging our podcast.
I was like, oh, I guess it. But it was really good to have someone to hold you accountable to showing up and getting out of bed and knowing that you had to go do it.
You know what? You just pointed out a truth. They did a study on people who actually achieve goals. Goal achievers, not just goal setters, but goal achievers. Mm-hmm. There's three things they always do. They write it down in detail. I mean, they identify where they want to be, what they want to accomplish. They write it down in detail. They plan all the steps. They look at the obstacles they got to overcome. Number two, they work on it every day or as often as necessary. So if your goal is to work out 5 days a week, there'd be in that consistency, right? And the third one is they have an accountability partner. So if you want to be a goal achiever, that's really all you got to do.
True story. And I'm a fitness maniac. I've been in it for years and years and years. And I just completed my first marathon recently. And I will say the only way that I did it, even as ridiculous as I have always been fanatical about fitness, I had a coach and he was pushing me. And even till 2 days before, I was like, I really don't have to do this marathon. No one will really be upset with me. And he was like, yeah, you're doing it.
So some great wisdom here. If you want to be a great leader, sleep 12 hours a day. No. sleep enough.
Set a goal to get at least 7. And people say, well, how do you do that? I say, well, it's easy. I just set my alarm clock at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what does that do? It makes you go to bed early at night. We usually, we just get wrapped up into mindless activities and we stay up too late. Man.
Oh, it's like you were in my house last night, Tom. That was why I was struggling to get up this morning, and I have to change that habit. I have to replace that bad habit with a good habit, Tom would say.
Yeah, and actually, there's another great book out there that I read recently called Game Changers, and they talk in that book about that it used to be in our society that it was valued for people to overwork themselves and give up sleep. And some big leaders mentioned in that book did it for a while and then crashed and burned in terms of their health. And it's just not true. Like you say, Tom, that if you don't sleep, your body's going to revolt at some point.
Absolutely. There's a lot of evidence on a 4-day work week. There's a lot of evidence on getting 8 or 9 hours of sleep. I mean, they did the sleep studies where people who were high performers getting 4.5 hours, they would put them in a confined area where they had no idea of the sun and the time. And they just said, sleep when you feel like it, work when you feel like it. And they all went up like to 8 or 9 hours of sleep, and their productivity and the quality of their work went up as well, even though theoretically they had 3 less hours to get it done.
I see some experiments coming up for me. Employees and company culture. This is always a challenge for organizations to attract and retain top talent. What are some of the ways that leaders can do this, utilizing the tools that you talk about in Choose to Win, to create a culture that attracts and keeps really good talent?
Okay. I love this. And I speak a lot on this, and I've kind of got this new concept. It's not really new, but it's a new word because culture is a buzzword.
Yeah.
Environment is a buzzword, but I am locked in on this word called atmosphere.
Oh, I think you've started a trend.
Atmosphere. So let me tell you, there's 4 things about atmosphere that a leader has to do. And here are the 4 things. Choose it, change it, cover it, and create it. So what is atmosphere? Well, it's not physical. It's more than physical. I mean, we've been to places that were kind of run down, hot, smelly warehouses and manufacturing, and the atmosphere is unbelievable, right? You can just feel it when you walk in. These people care about each other. They're making it happen. I've been to ivory tower offices that were just dead, just no atmosphere. Just like zombies going through the building, even though it's just like perfect modernized place. So what's the difference? It's the atmosphere, right? It's the spiritual side of what I call culture. And so the first thing we can do as a leader is we can choose it. And the first thing we choose is we're going to choose our own atmosphere. We're going to choose what we put in our mind. We're going to choose the attitude that we have when we go to work. We're going to choose the people that we associate with. We're going to choose everything that we can to create our own atmosphere. Because as a leader, if we're not choosing the right atmosphere, if we're not building the things in us that automatically exude a right atmosphere, nobody's going to follow. Number two is we got to change it. So think about this. In martial arts, you kind of progress, right? There's white belt, red belt, brown belt, black belt. So white belt is, that realization that I can choose it. Somebody in martial arts as a white belt is still better off than 98% of the population who doesn't even know that there's things you can do, right?
Yeah.
So white belt is really pretty good. We choose it. Then we change it. So one of the things that I do to have fun is whenever I get on an airplane, I change the atmosphere. So I'll walk on the plane. There's the flight crew, right? There's usually 2 flight attendants there. The pilot door is open. There's 2 of them sitting in there. And I'll walk in and I say, hey, I got a question. And they look at you like, uh-oh, here's a weird guy. And right? Because, we're just boarding the plane.
Yeah,
I said, are you guys having a good day? Do you by any chance like Starbucks? And their eyes light up because who doesn't like Starbucks, right? And I go, look, here, I got something for you. And I give them this little book of big quotes, and I have a $5 Starbucks card in it. And I go, man, you guys, you do fantastic. You get all the blame when the plane breaks or the weather's bad, and you don't get any credit when everything goes good. You guys bless me. I want all of you to have a Starbucks card. So I give the pilots and all the flight crew. And so it's almost like they want to name their children after me. After just
Starbucks does that to people.
a 30-second interaction. So then I sit down and I go to the back of the plane and I do the same thing. And so what happens during the plane? Everybody's stopping by. How's it going? Oh, I was reading some of your dad's quotes. That's so awesome. Can I get you something? I get goodie bags. I get all kinds of things. The people around me are like, are you like a celebrity or something? And I'm like, no, I just recognize. And so what happened is the whole atmosphere changed. And so as a leader, we can walk into any room anywhere with a plan on how to change the atmosphere. It's how we shake hands. It's how we look somebody in the eye. It's how we notice something unique about them. It's whatever that is. So that's number 2. The third one is cover it. Let's face it. Sometimes we go into hostile territory. Sometimes we're in a client meeting or an employee meeting, and there's 2 sides, and it's pretty aggressive on both sides. And so we've got to have shields up. We've got to walk in with that mentality that says, you know what? Their problem isn't with me. Their problem's with the situation. And you know what? Whatever they throw at me, whatever they bring at me, it's not going to change who I am and what I believe. Therefore, my response is going to be a response. It's not going to be a reaction. It's going to be a response of kindness and consideration out of love. It's going to be firm. They're not going to walk over me, but I'm going to respect them no matter whether they respect me or not. Right? I've got to cover it. So we got to have the shields up. And finally, the big one for a leader is create it. What is the atmosphere you want where you work? What is it? Golly, do you want to work with friends or strangers? Do you want to be curt and cold and to the point? Or do you want to feel like every time you talk to somebody you work with, it was like spending time with your best friend? You can create the atmosphere. And so the way you do it, it's kind of like in the sales episode that we just did. It's like, what's the fruit? What is the atmosphere you want? What are the qualities that you want? What are the words that when people talk about you and your organization, you want them to say behind your back? Hey, when you go there, this is how you feel. This is how they treat you. This is how they handle a problem. So you engineer that, you speak it into truth, you tell your team, this is what it's going to be, this is how we're going to do it. That's the black belt, right? So we went white, red, brown, black. So, but the thing is you can't get to black belt until you're practicing white, red, brown. So that's what I think. So I love leadership because, my mission in life is real simple. My mission is to create the atmosphere that allows you to become the person God created you to become. That's it. That's everywhere I go, every time I'm on a podcast, every time I do a speech, that's my mission, to create the atmosphere that allows you to become all that you're meant to be.
That's really powerful, Tom. And I think at the end of the day, we've had you on Women Your Mother Warned You About the podcast and the Pivotal Leader. And so many times, and I'm sure you've seen this over and over again, you go into an organization that wants sales training and they want to increase sales and increase revenue, and they're struggling and they don't realize that the struggle is coming not from the salespeople, but from the leadership behind them.
Tip. Every company that invests in sales training, the leadership needs to be in the room with them.
100%. And so often they're not. We actually had we were bidding for a job against two other companies for a Fortune 500 company. We didn't get it, and I'm happy that we didn't. I wanted to go through the process of pitching to a large organization, and one of their questions was, "How are you going to hold the salespeople accountable to the training?" And I said, "Well, how are you going to hold them accountable to the sales training?" I'm assuming that the sales managers, their bosses, will be the ones doing that. And they said, "Well, they're not going to be in the training." And my mouth dropped. I was so in awe. I'm like, "Oh, it's this big Fortune 500 company. This will really put our company on the map." And I'm like, "Am I being punked? Is this for real?" Well, if you want to hire me full time, I'll hold people accountable, but I'm the consultant coming in.
I'll tell you a funny story because I'm a nerd. We were working with a Fortune 500. They had us train about 400 of their supervisor managers. So it's a long food chain, right? So you got all these tiers. And what we did, this is real simple. We did a couple of days of training, and then we took the 8 main elements or 12 main elements. We made a 3-minute video out of each one as a reminder. We sent one out every week. And then when somebody got that, they've been through the class, this is the reminder, they had to answer a question. And the question was, how are you planning on applying this skill this week? And all they did was write it in. Well, that answer went back to their manager. And what we were doing is we were giving the manager a little snippet that they could have a hallway conversation to role play. Hey, I know you're going to XYZ or you're going to do this. Let's talk about it. So here's what happened. The first week, 97% of the people answered that. So 400 of these go out, 97% answered it. The second week, 80%. 4 or 5 weeks into it, it was less than 10%. Why did that happen? Because the managers who were given gold to didn't take action and follow up with their people. So their people see this. Well, my manager doesn't care, so it must not be important.
Yep.
That's like 101. If you want to change the culture, it starts with leadership. Yeah, train and develop your people. You can't do it enough. Dad said this. He said there's only one thing worse than training your people and losing them, and that's not training them and keeping them. Trade your people and be a part of the process with them. And then ask about it. Just ask them the question, hey, how's it going this week? How are you applying that? How can I help?
Amen to that. There's been so much gold in this episode, as in the Women Your Mother Warned You About episode. Thank you. There's so many takeaways, Rachel.
I know.
From this episode.
So many.
Tom, it's been such a pleasure. It's time for us to wrap up, but it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. How can people connect with you or learn more about you and your book?
Awesome. 3 ways. You can get the book at choosetowinbook.com. You can connect with me at tom@ziglar.com. And you can go to Ziglar.com to find out all the things we do in Ziglarland.
Awesome. Once again, thanks to Tom and thanks to our listeners for listening to the Pivotal Leader today and to this episode. And before we go, I just want to mention, I've already mentioned it, I'm going to mention it again, that we have a new online improv-based sales training program coming out to help you increase sales and improve leadership skills. It's our spontaneous selling system, and you can check that out at pivot10results.com or email me at getresults@pivot10results.com. And Rachel, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
You can visit theclosingcurve.com or find me all over social media as Rachel on Real Estate. And don't forget, we have a whole other episode with Tom at womenyourmotherwarned-you-about.com that you can check out, where we focus more on sales.
Awesome. And you'll find a lot of this information and all of our contact information for Tom, Rachel, and myself in the show notes. And until next time, if you want to maximize, you need to improvise. Now it's time for that cool voiceover guy to take us out.
You've been listening to The Pivotal Leader with Gina Trimarco, owner and founder of Pivot 10 Results and Carolina Improv Company. You can find show notes for this episode on our website at thepivotalleader.com. The Pivotal Leader is a production of Pivot 10 Results, a strategy and training company that helps businesses shift from people problems to performance results. If your company needs help pivoting to success, visit pivot10results.com or email Gina at gina@pivot10results.com. And until next time, if you're feeling stuck in your business, it's probably time to pivot.